They talk about this article here. It says could take back us to the late 30s and the golden age of blockbusters. Okay, I don't think we're in the golden age of blockbusters. Like the current boxers right now. Okay, you know, because if it's just the big franchise movies, as I know people like really still complain about this. Well, it's the truth to the side, like the Northman. The Northman, they put Northman in like April. Okay, these standalone movies, these movies that don't know that have trouble competing with the big massive blockbusters. Okay, and let's not forget that companies. Okay, and I think this is the biggest problem. It says is a few companies own the majority of a pop culture. Someone that they mentioned that and they complain about the Iron Giant being in multiverses. It is very true. A part of the problem is that such few companies own most of our pop culture. It's not just Disney, okay, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Universal, and let's not forget rest of the extent Lionsgate, okay. It's a couple of companies, okay, and they own so much of the pop culture. And it excludes Lionsgate, that's Universal, Warner Brothers, Disney, and Sony, okay. Those four companies basically own most of the pop culture, most of the film pop culture. Okay, games, they still have like indie games and indie developers and all that stuff. Okay, but most of the blockbusters games, of course, they're mostly made by the big companies. But you see small companies come out every once in a while to make big blockbuster games as well. Okay, but the problem is, back in the 80s and 70s, of course, there was no real franchises in the 70s and 80s, so they had to think of something new. They had to think of new ideas, which is why most people think 70s and 80s and even the 90s have some of the best movies, okay? Because you had all these original ideas brought forth, and of course, they made bank at the box office, okay? And yeah, some of them were based off novels, some of them were based off comic books, but the things still stand. Okay, you know, most people would watch new movies, new non-franchise movies, movies that are not attached to any franchise whatsoever. Okay, but streaming fills the role of that now. No. Okay, you know, have you ever in the past decade have you had a film series that was like Star Wars, that was like Ghostbusters? Oh, yeah, you had the John Wick series, and that was it. Okay, and John Wick, that took a decade for that to even become a hugely successful franchise. Okay, John Wick took a decade to become a huge. You don't even have movies to become, huge, massive movies out of the gate or able. You have your occasional comedy that comes out that does really well. That you have your occasional movie, but most of these huge new movies, okay, either they get praised by critics as a Northman. Okay, it doesn't matter. People don't want to see it because it's not a part of a franchise. It's not because the movie's good or bad. It's because it's not a part of a franchise. People don't want to see it or are more wary of seeing it because it's not a part of a franchise. That's the problem. Okay, people aren't willing to give new things a chance. I'm someone who doesn't like giving new things a chance a lot. But the current box office is stale. Okay, most of the movies that people want to see are big comic book movies and big franchise movies to a lesser extent. Okay, no one's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited for Bullet Train." Okay, that's one of the bigger non-franchise movies releasing this year. I'm so excited for Nope, another big non-franchise movie releasing this year. Okay, you'll always be seeing people, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited for the next Star Wars, next Marvel, the next Batman, the next Superman movie. They're making a new Superman movie, the next Wonder Woman movie, the next comic book movie." Okay, and for example, there's many examples of this. People not giving new movie IPs a chance. Alita Battle Angel didn't really make that much money. I bet released in the 90s or even like when Avatar came out, instead of they released that instead of Avatar, it would probably made a lot of money. Okay, and people will probably still been talking about it to this day. Kind of like Ghostbusters and other movies, okay? And yeah, Alita does have a cult following, but you don't see everyday people saying, "Oh yeah, I remember Alita." And every time I talk to someone about Alita, say, "What's Alita?" They're not gonna say, "Oh yeah, Alita, that's a great movie." No. No one knows about that movie, okay? That's why a sequel will not do well. That's why they're not gonna make a sequel, because nobody knows what Alita is. Okay? And that's the problem. People won't watch something because it's not a part of a franchise. It's not attached to a sequel. It's not attached to a franchise. And I think we need to fix this, okay? We need to fix it, okay? We need to change it. The only two genres that are pushing non-franchise movies is animation, and most of those movies are not really that great, and horror, because of course they're cheap, they're easy to produce, so they don't have much to lose. For example, Moonfall was a sci-fi non-franchise movie, and no one watched it because of course the critics didn't like it. There are still people who still trust those losers in Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, but the most important thing is not a part of a franchise, so people didn't want to watch it. Okay, it's not a part of an established franchise. Okay, you can see the same thing with the movie The Lost City. Okay, it didn't really do too well worldwide. Why? That's not because the movie's bad or anything. It's not because the movie had really positive reception. It's because it's not a part of a franchise. The bad guys didn't really do too well at the box office either. Okay, compared to any franchise, even like a movie like Sing 2. Okay, Sing 2 had a franchise to back it up. Okay, that's the real problem here. Okay, the real problem is that people don't want to see movies that are not associated or attached to a franchise. Okay, and again, it's going to be very, very tough because, of course, inflation and all that stuff. Okay, people are not going to take that many risks as they did in the 80s and 90s. And it's really sad that people don't do it anymore. People took, Fox took a risk with Star Wars. They took a risk with Rambo, Rocky, Jaws. Okay, all of these movies that are now iconic movies that people talk about to this day. Okay, Jurassic Park, they took a risk of that. I know people like dinosaurs, but they really took a risk with that movie. That movie could have been, completely horrible. You never know. Okay, but people took a risk. People gave that movie a chance. The Matrix. Okay, and the more recent examples are like Inception, and yes, Avatar. As much as I do not like that movie. Okay, people took a risk and watched something new. Watched something that is not the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, and yes, comic book movies can be innovative. Franchise movies can be innovative. But it's still attached to a larger IP and a larger, more recognized character. And that's basically about this video. Goodbye.